Welcome back to the channel. How America Got So Stupid. The title sounding a little harsh, but we're going to figure out why this title is why it is. This is from a YouTuber by the name of Brit Monkey. Original link will be in the description. And with that being said, we're smoking all my dragons, divine, righteous, almighty greats, overachieving, never slacking. And we about to find out how America got so stupid. Here we go.
You wanna know how I got this dislike ratio? I make a video praising the Soviet Union and nobody bats an eye. I make a video praising the United States and everybody loses their minds. Okay, fine, I hear you. You only want to hear things that confirm what you already believe. I get it. Let's talk about why Americans are stupid. There's a famous episode of the Jimberly Kimberly live show where clueless residents of Los Angeles fail to name a single country.
Is it South Africa?
Yeah, the country of Asia.
Greenland or Iceland or something?
Although these are no doubt cherry-picked, and I'm sure if you stood in a big city all day and shoved a camera in people's faces and asked them questions, you'd be able to find 3 minutes worth of people who couldn't answer on the spot.
Miss, for $1, name a woman.
Name a woman?
Yeah.
But the stereotype that Americans are ignorant about the wider world is largely true. These people can't name a country because they don't care about other countries. 40% of Americans have a passport, compared to 66% of Canadians and 76% of Brits. In 1994, it was only 10% of Americans. But that doesn't mean Americans have got
America, get back at me on my passport, man. Albany, get at me.
More globetrotting since then. It was because after an above average episode of the news, it became mandatory to need a passport when entering Canada and Mexico. So it's fair to say that a very small percent of Americans will be leaving this corner of the world. As I said in a previous video, America has all you'd ever want geographically within her borders. Why go anywhere else? The foreign cultures, maybe? Americans don't care about that either. On the list of the highest grossing movies in the USA, you have to go all the way to 520th place to get a movie that isn't American.
Jeez.
It's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, by the way. Couldn't even beat The Nutty Professor. Somebody please check up on Ang Lee, I think he might have killed himself. Neither do global affairs hold the average American's interest. When asked about the Kyoto Climate Accords, who the Taliban are, or who Nicolas Sarkozy is, Americans are woefully underinformed compared to other developed nations.
We're so distracted in America, it's not even funny. Like, people could tell you what's going on with Kanye West or so. You know, like, it's all about drama here. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, that's what gets the American people going. The drama. That's where it is. Drama.
In 2009, only half knew that last year's Olympics were held in Beijing. Oh, but of course, when asked to name American celebrities, they had no trouble at all.
Didn't I just say they could tell you the drama? You know, celebrity. See, that's the crazy thing. With celebrities falling more and more, as far as just things in Hollywood being exposed and certain in music, and it's just all these big things happening that are really bad. It's changing the dynamics of America, though, and possibly for the better, because the more people see, like, whoa, we've been pretty much worshiping, right, people who haven't been who do we think they are, it's gonna create a shift. So all I can say is sit back and enjoy the show, because it's a big show in America right now.
At the same time, we non-Americans are flooded with American culture. Some British people know more about American politics and history than their own.
Once you're dropped into the trench, depth, or the z-axis is...
It's Z-axis, you floppy-haired moron. France had to pass laws banning radio stations from playing too much American music. There are only 2...
Shout out to France for taking things into their own hands and protecting their culture.
countries in the world where Coca-Cola is not sold. Wait, scratch that. This journalist from Finland bought a Coke at a water park in Pyongyang in 2017. And what's this hiding in the background of somebody's holiday snaps at the National Hotel de Cuba? Look, you know something's up when remote tribesmen in the Amazon rainforest who don't even have electricity know who Michael Jackson is. Americans used to be quite well read.
Rest in power, Michael Jackson. Yeah, it's crazy. Michael Jackson was big in a lot of places. I mean, I do want to say, it was because of the messages and certain songs he had. Like, I know he shot that. All I really want to say is they don't really care about it. He shot that in Brazil. And I seen someone in Brazil interviewing people, and they didn't know who certain A-list celebrities in America were, but they knew Michael Jackson. So I don't know if Michael Jackson purposely went certain places because he wanted to connect with those people. Because obviously there's no way they could just be just in that culture if they don't even, but I think maybe certain celebs purposely, certain ones like Michael Jackson wanted to connect with a certain audience, That's my theory on it.
After the Second World War, Americans consumed 63% of all the newspapers in the world, and they used this to their advantage. In 1948, the newly formed United Nations created a list of human rights that all countries should strive to uphold. One area that Americans were particularly interested in was this one, Article 19. Everyone has the right to freedom of expression and opinion, and receive and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers. What the USA wanted was a completely level playing field. Anyone can buy any media from any other country. A global free market of ideas, released from the shackles of censorship. For if anyone can gain access to the truth, we cannot be marched into the same kind of ignorance and intolerance that characterized the Axis nations of the war. This is admirable. Freedom of speech is a core value of the United States and many other allied nations. But some delegates, like those from India, questioned the US's motives. If you believe in an equal access to information and culture, shouldn't you redistribute some of your media creating capacity to developing nations like ours, so that we have an equal opportunity to tell the world our stories? The Americans would not budge. Of course, they knew deep down that India was right. The American delegation to the convention was highly populated by journalists and media magnates. They knew that if countries couldn't afford their own news, they would be increasingly reliant on buying news from American wire companies like the Associated Press, which was good for both the media companies' profits, but also the US State Department, who would no doubt have been licking their lips at the prospect of 1 billion people reading news with a specific American spin on it. In 1944, the Associated Press sold news to 38 countries. Within 8 years, that had doubled to 70 countries. In the 1950s, around half of films shown in European and Asian cinemas were American, 2/3 in Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina. Which makes sense. Americans made grand Technicolor films brimming with Hollywood sparkle because they could afford to. Whereas war-torn Europe, impoverished Mexico, and nuclear-obliterated Japan were stuck making small-scale comedies to keep up morale. One of the most popular French movies in 40s France.
How many of those small scale films were stolen by Hollywood though? Like the whole idea or the format.
Was 1949's The Big Day, a mostly plotless movie where a whimsical French postman gets into wacky mischief in a quaint village. There just wasn't the money or resources for anything else. Hollywood captured the European public's imagination, and they...
Man, shout out to the people that, in those countries that still try to, not, just have the creativity, keep the creativity alive and really put that work in, even though they didn't have the budget that America may have had. That didn't stop them. They didn't give up. So, personally, I'm impressed by that.
They wanted more. But why is it only a one-way street? Because while you can do or say whatever you want within the United States, the Constitution also says that the American government can regulate what goes in or out. During the Cold War, anything that might be considered communist propaganda could be seized by the post office and never delivered. Books or even souvenirs from communist countries, for example. Pamphlets criticizing US foreign policy. Immigration reached a low point in the early 70s, with only 4.7% of Americans being foreign-born, limiting Americans' interaction with different cultures. Obviously, it wasn't totally like North Korea. Plenty of foreign movies and music were allowed into the US. But the media that caught on was either already Americanized or so plastically exotic that it doesn't really say anything about the culture where it's from. The Beatles were British, yes, but they got their start covering American rock and roll musicians. When John Lennon stepped out of line, the American government made sure that he knew it. Movies imported from Japan were mostly
Damn, man. America just controlled everything when it comes to marketing.
samurai flicks, and very few movies set in the modern day. The film Ikiru is widely considered the best Japanese film ever made, if you ignore people who have never felt the touch of a woman. But this existential drama about a depressed, lonely man was only given a limited release in California, and the poster was edited to feature a stripper who is only in the movie for like 1 minute. The narrow stream of European movies that made it into the USA came in the form of the French New Wave cinema, movies that were stylistically inspired by American films, but also so stuffy that few audiences would ever want to watch them anyway.
Qu'est-ce que ça peut te faire?
Ça ne va pas, non?
Non, rien. Je voulais dire cette phrase avec une idée précise. Je ne savais pas quelle était la meilleure façon d'exprimer cette idée. Ou plutôt, je le savais. Mais maintenant, je ne sais plus.
This was further stifled by the Hays Code, a set of extremely strict regulations that were in place from 1934 to 1968. If you've ever wondered why old black and white films seem so dry, it's because of these rules. Some things that were completely banned from ever being shown in any film included bad guys winning. All movies had to end with the police outwitting the evil criminals or the criminals causing their own demise. Any nudity, even the silhouette of a booba, is an instant ban. Blood or dead bodies. When people get shot in old films, they usually just clutch the wound, but no actual blood is seen. Pointing a gun at somebody in the same frame. This is why guns are always held at waist height. Kissing for longer than 3 seconds. Interracial couples. White people as slaves. Criticism of religion or of any other country. Naturally, this prevented the more artistically liberal European films from being shown in American cinemas, and when they did get a US release, they were usually edited to remove the violence in movies and sex on
And that's foul because we know that you had so-called white folks that were slaves. That's why it's like Americans was programmed a certain way. And then now, this is why they think how they think. Because they were socially engineered to think a certain way. I mean, he breaking it down.
TV to comply with the good old-fashioned values. At least until the rules were abolished in 1968 and replaced by the age rating system we have today. Even as the Cold War ended and the internet gave Americans unparalleled access to the rest of the world and all of human knowledge, they still preferred to hang out on a handful of American-made websites dominated by Americans. The insular culture of 20th century America has carried over to the 21st. Tightened border security after Septiembre Undécimo means foreign musicians can have a hard time getting visas. In 2002, the touring visa of a German orchestra was cancelled after it was discovered the cellist had a criminal record for shoplifting a pair of tweezers in 1991. When they tried again for a visa in 2004, the cellist had to undergo an hour-long interview with Homeland Security and had to physically pick up his visa.
That's crazy. What? Oh man, that's just another form of being a slave at that point. But man, welcome to the U.S. Welcome to the U.S. They pick and choose. You get what I'm saying? This is why people are so upset with like the whole migrant situation, because not even a slap on the wrist. They just everything a green light. And I don't know disrespect to any migrants, most of us come from immigrants, and, but it's like, as far as how the system's set up and how it makes it harder for certain people, and you get what it's like, why you guys, doesn't make any sense, and it just gets the people riled up.
Visa from the US Embassy. Global cultures might be more present in American media, but they're always through the lens of American characters, such as The Last Samurai starring Tom Cruise, where he plays a white guy in 1870s Japan. 7 years into...
Well, glad to know that, people across in other places feel the same way that us so-called Black Americans tend to feel when you literally got Tarzan born or in Africa swinging around, and it's like, damn, you couldn't just give up. You just so much different stuff. Or the blackface. It's a lot of things that was like that's not being talked about here too. Of what, but I guess that's more of a internal thing with America. But it's why there's so much conflict and people think a certain way, because it's been a long time coming with the programming. It's been a long time coming. So glad other places see and they go through it. Not to say I'm glad they go through it too, but it's hopefully this videos like this end up waking the people up more and more. If people like me continue to react and more Americans come and see, and maybe we start to, just kind of just wake up just a little bit more.
Tibet, another American in China. Indiana Jones, American in Egypt. The Bourne Identity, American in France. Inglourious Bastards, Americans in German-occupied France. And for the ladies in the audience, Mamma Mia. For a movie set on a Greek island, there's not a single Greek person in the entire movie! Is there any hope for America, or are they destined to be a stinky, dumb, redneck country forever? Maybe. In 2000, 92% of the music in the USA Top 50 was American, making it the second most insulated market in the world after Pakistan. But today it's more like 60%, with Brits, Canadians, Latin Americans and Africans making themselves more seen in the charts. Each year there are more foreign films nominated at the Academy Awards than ever before. What used to be an American-only pay-to-win awards show is now an international pay-to-win awards show. As social media platforms have an element of randomness in what they show users, there is a higher chance of
He's saying a lot here.
Americans being shown videos from other countries, forcing them to take note of what is happening. It seems the revolution will be TikToked. I've been giving the impression throughout this video that it's all or most Americans who are terminally uneducated. But American ignorance isn't as evenly distributed as you'd think. That study I mentioned earlier, when adjusting for English proficiency, income and education levels, Americans are really no different from their European counterparts, and in some cases marginally smarter. Knowledge about the wider world even correlates to political views, and not in the way that you'd think. A 2022 survey asked Americans 12 questions about the world, such as who is the British Prime Minister, what does the Indian flag look like, and what this symbol represents. The people who answered the most questions correctly were committed Democrats and committed Republicans. Swing voters, those enlightened centrist chads, were the stupidest. Only 40% of moderate Republicans could name the US Secretary of State, compared to 60% of convicted Republicans. Only half of moderate Democrats knew that the USMCA trade...
People just don't really care anymore. I'm gonna be honest with you, they don't. And it goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, like entertainment is that's number one. Nobody really, even when it comes to getting a job in America, like if you in retail or, they want to know what they looking at your style. They looking at, sure, the resume is cool and all that, but they know that's not really, they trying to market to the stylish people. They're trying to, everything's based on how you look, how you speak, how, it's like, they're not asking you political, they're not really, it's just like, you know what, I like you. You got the job. You're cool. Oh, you like boxing? I like boxing too. Hey, are you okay? Cool. I seen your resume. Yeah, cool. Whatever. He's cool. Get him in here. That's how it's been for me. I'm not kidding.
trade agreement replaced NAFTA, compared to 66% of convicted Democrats. Also, I just thought it was funny that the more Americans know about the European Union, the more favourable view they have of it. So are Americans ignorant? Many of them are, but it isn't their fault. It's a mix of geography, American imperialism.
I actually really like this video. I do, because he's being fair. You know, how he said, he didn't just straight say, oh man, he said, are they ignorant? Yeah, but it's not their fault. Fair enough.
Cold War paranoia, moral puritanism, and economic factors that create a paradoxical nation that is both the most expansive empire, but also an informational prison of their own making. God bless you, stupid bastards.
Shout out to Brett Monkey. Like I said, original link in the description. He definitely touched the spot when he said informational prison. Oof. We're birds in a cage that don't know they can fly, and we're only told everything we view outside of that cage is what we're taught through like entertainment. We're out of touch with reality. I'm even gonna say with me, even though I go in nature and you know I'm maybe more in touch than a lot of others, I still don't feel like I'm like, you get what I like when I watch videos and about Romania and the culture they live in, or it's like we're engineered to think that you know people who are still using century old techniques with agriculture are like not civilized or something. You know, we're trained to think just because we have easy access on a cell phone all day. You know, it's cool to be able to create new ways to do things, but at the same time, it's just the way it's the way we judge things, the way we perceive things, the way we perceive history, the way we that just makes it messed up. You know, the morals. You know, like man. But as far as how he explained just how America pretty much controlled entertainment and controlled how we seen things, and limited it, how other people promoted and marketed in America, and just it's like excellent video. Honestly, these are the videos I definitely enjoy because I learned a lot. I knew this, but obviously there's a lot of details I didn't know that I learned in this video. So with that being said, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. I think these type of videos, I think when Americans react to these type of videos, it definitely helps more than it hurts, because it opens our eyes to what we may not see. So original link in the description. I gotta keep saying that, just to show love to Brit Monkey. And I will be back with more soon. Much love, y'all.